Morning, everyone. All right. We'll be starting the webinar in 2 minutes. Morning, everyone. We'll be starting our the monthly webinar series by mConnect. Just give me a second. I want to make sure that everyone can see my screen. All right. I'm assuming everyone can see my screen. So this is our monthly webinar series, and today we will be presenting about Instagram marketing. So in this is our part two series of focus on Instagram marketing. In previous session, we did talk a little bit about how why Instagram is important, and in this one, we're going to talk about more about growing your brand and analyzing your growth. Um, but before that, a little bit brief about M Connect once again. So we are founded in 2015, and our emphasis is on restaurant marketing and with a focus on what we call as a customer engagement model. This is our A2A model that we've come up with, wherein we focus on different stages of how a customer interacts with a brand, and at each stage, what kind of experience that a restaurateur or a social media marketing person should basically should focus on. um, and this customer engagement model is actually backed by our mconnect platform, which kind of gathers data at different stages and uses this data to fine tune and deliver different marketing messages at each of these customer engagement model. Um, Having laid out this the engagement model here, or our focus here, whatever work we or however we actually focus in terms of like our deliverables or our marketing strategy revolves around this customer engagement model, in the sense that like if we try to come up with like an Instagram strategy or a grassroots marketing plan or any of these plans that we come up with, we always try to look at this customer engagement model and say how are we coming up with a value proposition to our clients that they can see in terms of are we increasing the awareness, or are we getting more customers into the door, are we building up their loyal customer loyalty base, and so on and so forth. So with that in mind, all our marketing strategies are geared towards this A2A model. And even in today's webinar, we will be talking more about how you can grow your brand. Again, this is the agenda that we're going to talk about, is how we grow your brand using Instagram. When we talk about growing your brand, it means how you can increase the awareness of your particular restaurant brand. How can you get more customer engagement, and how can we drive customers into the door? Right, and we will be talking more in terms of how we have been working with different clients of ours, and maybe some anecdotes and some live examples that again with the emphasis on this A2A model, right? In today's webinar, again, the focus is on how you can grow your brand in terms of Instagram, you followers as well as engaging, and how you can analyze the growth in terms of like whether it is in line with your expectations, or how you can actually change your strategy based on the numbers you are seeing, and so on and so forth, right? In part one, we kind of talked about why is Instagram needed, and what kind of content strategy you have to use, and so on and so forth. Whereas in our second part, which is for today, again, the emphasis on these two things is growing your brand and analyzing the growth, right? With that, now we are seeing more and more news about how Instagram is like kind of from an engagement perspective, from a monthly active users perspective, and different feature set that are being released by Facebook. There has been a lot of news with regards to Instagram, and again the focus is like how can you as a restaurant brand can flow with this tide in terms of making sure that you have a sound strategy when it comes to Instagram, right? And we're going to talk about like 7 strategies that we have adopted and we have seen results when it comes to our clients, and how you, as again, the emphasis we again focuses on restaurants as well as marketing agencies which want to focus on restaurants again, right? Um, so these are the 7 ways in which one can promote their restaurant brand. The first one is Instagram stories, right? The second strategy is to cross promote. We're going to talk about all these 7 strategies in detail in the next few slides. Regramming and user generated content, co-marketing with others, right? And ability to interact with a set of customers through direct messaging, right? And then the last part is the influencer marketing, which we're going to again talk in detail as well, right? The first one is again a very brief introduction about why Instagram. Again, we have over 1 billion monthly active users. This is of like in the last quarter or so. And it's not just the number of active users on Instagram, but also the ability to convert these users into actual customers, in the sense that like most of them are what they look are they are liking it, and they're actually making a purchase of that. And it's just not that, but also Instagram is one of those platforms which are used by influencers, which we're going to talk about in a little while. But these influencers in turn reach out to these end customers who have a greater faith, or they are more likely to act upon any influencer post, and that in turn leads to the number of users getting onto the platform increasing, and the results which any brand is looking from in terms of the ability for people to actually make a purchase. It's kind of like a positive cycle kind of a thing, which kind of leads to more people joining the platform, and which in turn leads to a higher ROI from any brand perspective. All right. If you can see, again, these are some of the brands that we actually looked at, again, from a food perspective. If you look at it, Chobani is one, wherein the kind of pictures they have or the kind of engagement they have is far superior when it compares with any others, right? This is, again, one more picture, which if you look at it in terms of aesthetics wise and all those kind of things, again, why Instagram is so popular within the foodie industry, right? So the Instagram stories, the very first one is like it started like 2 years back in November of 2016, as in this feature was available to the entire population. This was obviously copied from Snapchat, but in terms of the engagement wise, in terms of the number of people joining on board has increased tremendously, and the number of features which are coming up by Instagram also, like recently they have introduced the ability to make purchases using stickers on Instagram stories itself. Again, so the number of users on Instagram stories have increased, and also the ability to make a purchase also, which was recently introduced, signifies the importance of stories that Instagram is placing at this point of time, right? So the number of we talked about 1 billion. Out of those 1 billion, 40% are actually using Instagram stories, right? And you can actually use stories. It could be a string of pictures, or it could be a video that is available for your end customers, and they disappear after 24 hours, right? So that means what you want your customers to view it. Again, it depends on what kind of stories you want to let your customers view. Either it could be a product launch, or it could be like right now you have holidays around the corner, you can talk about holiday specials coming up and so on and so forth, right? Again, you can make these create these stories using your native app. It could be a live video, or even if you want, you can actually use pictures or videos from your phone itself. So when we talk about stories, right, it has to have a specific strategy in terms of what is the basic purpose of a story that you want to portray when it comes to a brand. Again, we just talked about like, how about if it comes to let's say talk about a new menu item that you want to release just for the holiday season. So you might want to take a picture of your chef preparing this dish, or you want to come up with an offer around your gift cards. So you might want to take a story of a customer talking about, hey, how they like the food at your restaurant, and in turn they want to give a gift of this um, gift of this particular food or menu or ambience and so on and so forth to their friends. And then there is a new offer for your customers on the gift cards, right? So you need to, again, it's not just the making of the story, but there has to be a strategy behind why you want to make this story. And again, obviously, the bottom line being that once you make a story, what kind of results do you want people to know about, right? For example, again, going back to the holiday season, and given that it is a giving season, you might want to host a charity event and kind of make a story around it, saying it could be a not just one story, it could be a series of stories saying that why you partnered with this particular nonprofit, what does this nonprofit, what is the impact of this nonprofit. Maybe you might want to um, work with them. We're going to talk about the co-marketing in a little while. But again, as I said, you might want to co-market or co-create a story in terms of saying why you want to partner with them and so on and so forth. For example, we have actually one of our clients. We are actually hosting an event it is actually an event for the first responders, but we are actually donating the money that is being raised from the first responders to the Salvation Army. So the first responders actually worked with us to create a video showcasing actually the mayor of the town, as well as some people from the store, and also from Salvation Army. And we have got tremendous results from this particular story that we actually put out, right? Again, it's not just the how to make a story, but also as to why you want to make a story. Again, there are different versions. Again, given that it is a visual representation of how you want to convey the message, or what type of message you want to convey, you have multiple options to choose from. Either a static picture, a collection of static pictures, or it could be a video, and you can actually add different aspects to that particular stories as well. Within that story, again, as we just talked about, you have the option to, like, for example, if you take a look at this, you might want to say, hey, cup of Joe for $1 or something like that. So you would know as to how many people are actually placing an order from this story, right? Um, we talked about the new product launches. So it's not just you want to start conveying the message that there is a new menu option coming up. You want to build up the story. Maybe you can have like a feature set saying these are the key ingredients, and ask people for that, hey, what do you think these ingredients will go into? And then you might want to show a chef basically making this dish as a second story. And maybe the third story could be the option of actually the dish being prepared and laid out in front of a customer, and maybe a response from the customer saying that how the dish is. So you are actually kind of creating a story here in terms of the different, again, as I said, like it is a three-part series where you are focusing on the key ingredients that go into a dish, the making of the dish, and the presentation and the response from the customer with regards to the dish itself. So again, the emphasis, as we talked about, is to have a strategy, and some of the ways in which you can um, stand out is obviously you need to make sure that you are using all these latest tools, or the features that are provided by Instagram in terms of geotagging, in terms of making sure that you are adding some stickers and other things, right? But also making sure that you are reposting again whenever you see some others posting a story or something like that. You would actually get a pop-up saying that, hey, you have been mentioned in the story or something like that. So that means you might want to actually reshare that story. And also um, you can also share your Instagram post as well, in the sense like making sure that you are sharing the Instagram posts. And the most important, what we feel, is the shoppable tags. End of the day, you as a brand, you want to know how many people are actually walking into the door or placing an order. So make sure that you add any shoppable tags or any tags that you can actually add, that can be linked directly to your shopping cart or online ordering. Again, we just talked about like launching a new item. So you might want to say this, or this is only available for online ordering only, and trying to see how many for the next 1 week or so, and trying to get pre-orders or something like that, and seeing how many people are actually making an order, right? Um, right now, even Instagram allows the capability to, as we talked about, right? You can also start placing an ads within the stories, so that if you want like to place an, it could be an ad in your own ad, which will say place an order or something like that, or join our loyalty club, or join our specials or something like that, so that you would know as to how many people are clicking through these ads which are placed in the stories as well, right? As part of this stories as well, we have what we call as a story highlights. So these are like, if you open any on your browser, or even on your native app, you can see a bunch of icons right below your bio, and these are the story highlights, right? These are the again, the basic purpose is to make sure that you are sharing some important facets of your restaurant or your brand in here. And we have actually used this to promote like our monthly, every month we at M Connect, we come up with a plan, and we showcase as to what kind of different offers we have, in terms of like, is it like an buy one get one free, or a free coffee on a purchase of a breakfast, and so on and so forth, so that people who come to our Instagram page, they can actually view as to what kind of offers we have. The other thing which we have been doing for the story highlights is any events that we might actually have. Again, I just talked about the Salvation Army event for basically the fundraiser event for Salvation Army, and we actually highlighted that particular event, saying that hey, this is an upcoming event, you might want to join us, kind of thing. All right. And the third one which we actually used is like the loyalty program for our clients. So this is again, end of the day, we want to make sure that people are actually joining the loyalty program through this story highlight. Again, the emphasis of us putting a story highlight is to make sure that there is a call to act on this particular button, in the sense that like, hey, we want people to join our loyalty program, or we want our customers to come for that fundraiser event, and so on and so forth, right? You can keep on changing these stories as the highlights here, in terms of once you post a story and you click on add highlights, and then you can actually go ahead and it will actually show you a range of options for you to add to the story highlights, right? Um, so that's so you can keep on, like, you click on the new, and it will actually give you an option to choose from the range, from the different options that you can. And you can keep on changing this one, as we talked about, right? Like, you can talk about using other story highlights or something like that, or other stories, and that would become a highlight here itself, right? um, Again, these are some of the pictures that we came across, in terms of where you can actually see how many different aspects of your business. We talked about like product launches or customer stories, or it could be joining a birthday club, and so on and so forth, right? The next aspect of the 7-part strategy is to cross promote, right? We talked about, like, in the initial beginning, we talked about, hey, you want to um, the stories, as we talked about, right? These are only available for 24 hours. So you want to make sure that there is enough build up or enough momentum generated for a particular story. So you want to kind of like start cross promoting that particular one, in the sense that, hey, we are coming up with a new product launch, keep watching for our story, or something like that, right? So that people will or people are like, you're building up this anticipation or expectation, saying that you're launching this new product, or a new foodie is coming to town, or like a foodie is going to visit your restaurant on so and so date. So keep watching out for their story highlights, or maybe you can say that you can share the highlights of that particular story on your board itself, right? And so cross promotion between the stories and posts is very important for two reasons. One is you are building up the expectation in terms of saying that something new is coming up, and also, to given that the stories are only for 24 hours, you want to increase the longevity of these stories by kind of like sharing the post and all those kind of things, right? So that, in a nutshell, is what all the cross promotion is about. So if you say that you're launching a product, as we talked about, the 3-part series, right? You might want to post some pictures of the key ingredients, and saying that, hey, can you guess what the ingredients, what these ingredients would go into? And then based on that engagement, you can say that we are actually going to launch a new product, or a new recipe, or a new menu item, and whoever has guessed the right answer, they might end up getting a free offer of this one. And similarly, when you make another post, or another a picture, or another story about how to prepare the menu item, you might want to share a picture of of your chef, or a picture of your kitchen, or something else, saying that, hey, this is the place where we're gonna make our new a new menu item, and this is basically we're gonna share a post or share a story in the next couple of days or something like that. So this way people are basically waiting for that story to happen, and given the fact that the stories are like most of the times again are videos, people are excited to kind of like look forward for this particular post or particular story, right? um, Again, this would actually give a lot more what we call as like a lot more engagement when it comes to a story, right? um, the third aspect of this one is what we call as regramming, right? Again, as we talked about, Instagram is a visual media or visual platform. So you have a lot of people who would be sharing their pictures, and it could be a foodie who comes to your store, or it could be another customer who was actually posting something, and it's more like a user generated content, right? In the sense, when we say user generated content, in this case, someone else is generating the content, and you are using that to kind of post on that one, right? And we want to make sure when you're doing that, you follow certain rules in terms of making sure that you give enough credits for this particular person, saying that typically when someone posts this one, right, they would actually say this is basically regrand from, or and then you tag them with their handle, Instagram handle, right? But also, if possible, take permissions from them saying that, hey, can we use this picture in our this one? So that way you are covered in the sense that you don't want to have any copyright issues or anything like that, and you have an explicit permission for which you get for most of the times, unless and until that content is has another part of which you cannot use or something like that. So you can either use your own app, which basically you copy and reshare it, but there are third party apps like Regran and every that we typically use at mconnect, which will enable you to regram it very efficiently, right? So we talked about the very first one is the Instagram stories. Then we talked about cross promoting it, and we talked about the regramming here, right? Um, and then the fourth aspect of growing your brand is Instagram Direct. So when you post anything, either it could be a post or it could be anything else, Instagram provides the option to post this information directly to a set of customers, or it could be out there in public, right? For example, let's take this case. You are trying to post something about um, a new dish again, or a loyalty program, or you want to come up with an offer, right? In that case, in the offer, right, you want to only share it with a certain set of people are part of the loyalty club or something like that. So this would be an easy way for you to share that information with your certain set of customers, wherein you're sharing this information or this particular post only with those set of customers, right? So that is the Instagram Direct. You can also have, like, I would say, maybe a one-on-one conversation wherein you are trying to reach out to a particular set of customer. Like, for example, we have birthday club, and we are trying to integrate this wherein we know for a fact that this particular customer has birthday on so and so date, and we want to basically wish that customer a very happy birthday. And you can actually again do this using the Instagram Direct as well, right? um, the fifth aspect is what we call as co-marketing, right? So co-marketing here is a very powerful tool that we feel that can be used to the hilt. So it is like two brands coming together and making sure that the message that you want to share across these two set of customer base um, is kind of like, again, you have a common objective of sharing this particular message. Again, we talked about the fundraiser with the first responders at the for one of our customers, right? So what we have done is, in this case, we have actually co-opted, or we worked with the city. We have actually worked with the first responders. We have actually worked with the Salvation Army along with our brand. So there were four people or four set of organizations that were involved, and city actually has created this video by showcasing few people from the first responders. It showed work about what Salvation Army is all about. It showed about food items and other things from our brand, and also finally the message is about why why we are doing this event. In terms of, again, this event is actually on the 4th of this month, on December 4th, and so it kind of showcases that, hey, this is the time of giving, and this particular brand is working with all these organizations and coming up with this wonderful opportunity for you as a customer to participate in this event, right? So it again, giving you an example as to how we have worked with different teams or different organizations to make sure that we have come up with one message that can resonate with all different sets of people, right? Again, so when you are trying to come up with this co-marketing, or trying to come up with, try to enlist other organizations, you might want to think about, again, what is the primary objective of forming this relationship? Is it to do with driving traffic to the store, or is it basically to create awareness, or to create engagement in terms of like more people liking your handle, or following you, or engaging with you, and so on and so forth, right? um, Once you have that objective in mind, then you can start thinking about the messaging that would go, what kind of messaging you want, whether it would, should it be a story plus a post, or just a post, or so on and so forth, right? So once you come up with that, then you can start like looking at how you can again, basically making sure that you are giving a shout out. Again, this shout out is talking about fellow business page and saying, hey, I'm basically promoting this particular event, or I'm basically partnering with this particular organization, and so on and so forth. um, we have also actually, as part of this co-marketing, what we have seen or what we have read is few organizations come together. They kind of form a group and start cross promoting each other. Like, you post something, let's assume you're a restaurant brand, you partner with maybe a local car washing company, maybe with an apartment complex, maybe with a school and with a church. You all of these organizations come together and kind of like cross promote each other by saying, hey, this is like, this picture is so good, and so on and so forth. And we really are not sure whether how Instagram views these kind of arrangements. But again, this, we haven't done it, but we come across this in a couple of postings which they talk about forming this private group and making sure that, like you scratch my back, I scratch my back, kind of a thing, right? This is kind of like borderline Instagram valid or not valid kind of a thing, and we really cannot vouch for that one. But in terms of this co-marketing and the shout outs, make sure that there is a genuine business objective to it, right? If you're hosting an event, make sure that you are working with that particular organization. Or if you are coming up with, like, again, if you're coming up with like after post holidays you want to focus on salads or healthy eating or something like that, then you might want to work with local gyms or yoga instructors or something like that to kind of promote that particular healthy eating habit and so on and so forth, right? um, Another aspect for which you can actually do or grow your brand is what we call as takeovers. So takeovers is basically nothing but takeovers is nothing but where your brand or your handle is kind of adopted or taken over by another person or another organization, right? And this can be done. There are two types of takeovers, right? They can it can be a partial takeover or a complete takeover, right? And the reason for this takeover is you're collaborating with that particular organization or influencer to kind of post something on your handle, like, or for example, if you want a chef, a local celebrity chef, to come into your kitchen and do something, so you might want to say that, hey, this chef is coming to our town, and they might want to take over your handle and saying that I'm going to prepare a dish at this particular restaurant, so fine, like basically stay tuned for this event, kind of a thing. So that's in a nutshell what takeover is all about. And you might want to basically focus on again, the emphasis is on making sure that either you actually come up with maybe a post or a story, or even it could be an Instagram live where people are posting an event, like again we talked about, like this local celebrity chef coming to your kitchen to do an to prepare a dish or something like that, right? So that's another way of making sure that you are piggybacking on someone else's popularity. Again, make sure that whenever you are thinking about a takeover, you make sure that it is in line with your brand image, and it is from a business objective perspective. It makes sure that it delivers results. Again, we talked about, like, the emphasis should be on increasing the awareness or making sure there is more customer engagement, or wanting people to walk into your door, and so on and so forth, right? um, the the last aspect is basically within the seven step strategy is basically the user generated content, right? Again, for most of the times when you as a restaurant brand post content, it would be to make sure that people are liking it. So what we have seen is when users are actually part of a contest, or when they actually generate the content, um, the number of the engagement or the reach or different parameters that we actually looked at has increased tremendously. For example, like, we have recently done a photo contest by partnering with a local ISD, in which we had all the elementary schools participate in this, and we had the pictures of different schools posted. And what we have seen is, in terms of the reach wise, in terms of the brand engagement wise, in terms of the number of uh, fans who actually started following our handle post pre and post, based on this one, we have seen a tremendous increase in terms of the contest itself. Again, this is like a photo contest where parents and teachers and everyone voted for their favorite school. And this actually has created a tremendous buzz. Again, if you look at it, the content is, in a way, it's been created by the schools, which are the logos, and the parents and teachers have actually participated in this contest. Similarly, for this Christmas season, we are actually having a photo contest for the Christmas tree or the best decorations. And based on our past experience, we have seen good enough engagement on these when compared with your regular posting, right? Um, so make sure that whatever the contest or that you want to run based on the user generated content, make sure that you have a very clear, again, the objective being that you want people to um, share their posts or submit their content. And then there has to be some kind of an objective, in the sense like, why are these people sharing their pictures? Is it for some kind of a reward, or are you going to showcase their best pictures on as part of your story highlights, or you would showcase their pictures at the restaurant, and so on and so forth. So once you have that one, you can actually see, again, if you look at it, the number of people who actually like or engage with your brand increases tremendously, right? And you have multiple options for you to do these kind of contests, in the sense that, like, you want to, again, make sure that you actually have some kind of a contest around the content that the users are generating. It could be at your store, or it could be of their pet pictures, or it could be of their kids dressed up in Halloween, and so on and so forth. And we have done all these kinds of different contests at mConnect, where we have seen that one of the best engagements, or best in terms of the results wise, from an awareness, engagement, and the increase in the reach, and all those things are done through these user generated content contests itself. So, right. So, and make sure that when you actually have these contests, people are sharing them, and they are also trying to reshare it, or kind of like engagement wise, in the sense that you want them to like it or answer a question, because that way the reach also increases accordingly with regards to the contest that you're actually having, right? So we talked about so far in terms of the 7 strategies that increases your Instagram, right? And one of the very key aspects of this one is influencer marketing, right? In the very beginning, we talked about like how Instagram has grown, and how it has grown to a 1 billion monthly active users. And it is also a platform of choice for influencers, right? So you have influencers who have millions and millions of followers, like Selena Gomez and others. But you, as a restaurant brand, again, we are talking from a mom and pop store's perspective, right? You might also want to focus on your local or micro influencers, right? And Instagram is a perfect platform when it comes to restaurants. And we have worked with multiple influencers, in terms of, again, we are talking about micro influencers. When we talk about micro influencers, these are the people who have maybe from 3,000 to 25,000 followers, right? And even maybe a little bit more, and who are in a very perfect zone for you as a restaurant brand to reach out and kind of get um, uh, more awareness, or more customer customer peace of mind, if we can call it that way, right? um, Again, early on, we also talked about like how customers who view the products on 1/3 of the customers who view the products on restaurant, or sorry, on Instagram, are more likely to make a purchase. So, and also that customers also trust others. When I say trust others, trust influencers who are actually posting about a brand or an offer or something like that, right? Um, so with that in mind, at mconnect, the way we go about doing finding the right influencer, again, we actually look for few facts or few aspects of a restaurant, or an influencer within the restaurant industry. First of all, we want to make sure that they have a minimum number of around 5,000 followers, right? And sometimes we make an exception to this one based on the second step, which is basically looking at the engagement which they get. For example, we have worked with an influencer who has only around like 2,000 followers or something like that. But the way she portrays the stories is quite unique, in the sense that she uses a funny way of narrating a story or a post or something like that. Like, for example, she talks about the key ingredients going into a dish, and she basically talks about kind of a lyrical composition of saying that, hey, I am so and so ingredient, I'm going into this, and I'm kind of pairing up with this another ingredient to come up with another, the final product is this product, which is delicious, and all those kind of things which you can see to the left of my screen, and so on and so forth, right? So our focus is to finding the right um, uh, finding the um, right influencer in terms of the number of followers, but also in terms of making sure that they are active, and also the engagement rates that you would actually get are pretty good, right? Once we identify these two sets, and when we say active, they have to at least post twice or thrice within a week, and that too around restaurants or around food and those kind of things, right? Once we have that, we try to reach out to these influencers, right? In the sense that the way we actually try to do them is, we actually try to reach out to them. First of all, we follow this influencer, and make sure that we are actively engaged with the influencer, in the sense that, like, we want to make sure that, like, we are commenting, or we are trying to, like, reshare some of the posts, obviously not all the posts and all those things, but making sure that we are actively engaged with the influencer. And then we try to reach out to them directly through their Instagram handle, or most of the times they do actually have a blog post, so we try to reach out through their blog posts, or sometimes we send an email as well, or a combination of all. And then once we find the right in again once we get, like, most of the times when we send an message or an email, or call them up, most likely they do respond. Again, obviously, the influencers are in the business of trying to post something which in turn will lead them to grow from a micro influencer to a macro influencer to a mega influencer, right? That's the intent. And as you can see, their focus is to make sure that they also get, like, more restaurant brands going to a restaurant, and then taking pictures and talking about it, placing a story, and so on and so forth, right? um, so once we do that, we invite them over, and as most of our customers are mom and pop stores, we always try to make sure that we actually provide them food for the influencer and maybe another person. So that is the max reward that we typically give out to these influencers, and they are okay with that. So make sure that you are upfront with the influencer, saying that what exactly you're looking for in terms of from an posting wise. And again, this is what we request the influencer. We want them to have a post, we want them to create a story, and then we also want them to create a contest around these posts and stories. So typically we will say that, hey, we want to run a contest wherein people who actually post or who like our posts, and who actually follow us on Instagram and tag two or three friends of theirs on Instagram will be entered into some kind of a contest. Like it could be a $25 gift card, or it could be a dinner for two, and so on and so forth. And we have seen again tremendous results in terms of people when we get an influencer and followed up with this particular contest. We have seen many a times that the number of people who follow us on Instagram have reached, and in terms of number of people visiting our profile section increases or increased, and also in terms of creating the buzz within the community has increased as well. So with that in mind, right, like there is a very clear objective of why we want influencers to walk into the door, and making sure that we have a very clear objective of how we go about doing it, as in choosing the right influencer in terms of different parameters that we talked about, having a very clear cut strategy in terms of making sure that why we want the influencer to come to a restaurant, right? Once we have these things done, and once they go and once the influencer comes to the store and creates a post or posts about the stories and those things, then we follow up with what kind of results have we seen? Have we seen an increase in terms of our followers? Have we seen an increase in terms of engagement? Have we seen any increase in terms of any online purchases, and so on and so forth, right? So once we actually have that one, we can actually see what is working and what is not working, in the sense that, hey, posting maybe sometimes during the day or by this particular influencer is not working because they are not the right target segment that we are looking for, right? Again, making sure that like once we have that, you want to monitor the progress in terms of making sure that you follow up with, again, you also the contest was right. We talked about the contest wherein we are giving out like a gift card for people who actually follow us, tag us, and all those kind of things. So you need to work with the influencer to make sure that these gift cards are given to the right person, and also making sure that when any influencer posts on their page or on their handle, you are actively involved for the next 3-4 days to see what kind of engagement are you seeing on that particular post by that influencer. Are you seeing a lot of questions in terms of that, I want to go, or are you seeing questions about saying that I've been there and there is still an issue with the service levels, and so on and so forth, right? So you as a social media marketing person, or a restaurant brand owner, want to make sure that you are using Instagram as an influencer marketing platform to the hilt. And our mconnect platform enables to monitor in terms of what kind of results you are getting, and how to, first of all, how to reach out to the right influencer, and then making sure that you are getting the results in terms of like what your business objectives were from an influencer marketing perspective, right? So this actually concludes our second series of our Instagram marketing for small businesses. Again, in the very first part, we talked about why is Instagram, or why Instagram for small businesses, and what kind of content strategy you need to have. And in this part, we are we have been or we actually talked about like how we can increase, or like how, what kind of strategies do you actually have to adopt in order for you to increase your engagement, your reach, and so on and so forth, in terms of like the stories, in terms of cross promotion, right, in terms of sharing the highlights, in terms of all these other aspects. And we also briefly talked about influencer marketing, as to how it can be useful for you as a brand, to promote the brand and also to engage with your prospective customers, right? So having said that, we actually have a couple more minutes left, and if you have any questions, feel free to. Not sure here. I got a chance to look at it, but feel free to ask any questions you might actually have here. And I'm trying to see. We also have an offer here. Critique is actually our customer engagement tool or customer feedback tool. And if you guys are interested, please send us an email to marketing@mconnect.com, where we would like to give out the Critic product for free for the next 3 months, so that you can basically keep an eye for the different customer feedback that you would actually get as part of the critique module itself. So again, thanks everyone for watching the monthly webinar here. In January or in 2019, next year, we're going to talk about the third part of Instagram marketing, in terms of the analytics, how you can keep track of your, like, what kind of analytics you need to keep track of, and also measuring the results and so on and so forth, right? So if you have any other questions, please feel free to send an email at marketing@mconnect.com. And we have 2 more minutes left for this monthly webinar. All right. Again, thanks very much for watching this webinar. And this would be, given that we are on Hangouts or on YouTube or Google Air. This one is also available on YouTube. The link which will be shared to all those who actually are present here, and also to those who actually have registered but could not attend the webinar. All right, thanks everyone, and happy holidays to everyone. I'm assuming there are no questions because I don't see anything in the chat window. If there are any other questions which are not covered during this part, please feel free to send an email at marketing@mconnect.com. All right. Once again, I would like to say happy holidays to everyone, and we will be talking soon in next year for our third and concluding part of Instagram marketing strategies for small business. Thank you.